So, first impressions with the Rog Ally X. I'm going to be doing later on, probably tomorrow or the next day, should you buy my review later, what you should get going into 2025 if you've got some, Christmas money saved up, or what you might be wanting to get into the next year. So yeah, I just want to do an unboxing, show you guys what's in here. I did set up the ROG Allies, but you can kind of see what it looks like here. The only difference is I took the device out itself, set it up. I haven't seen any of the other stuff in the box yet other than other people's unboxing videos. So I'm gonna try and keep this video short, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just to give you guys my initial impressions, what I've thought and how I felt playing it for the first few days, compared to other devices like the Steam Deck OLED or the PlayStation Portal, and kind of go from there. So let's get this open. I gotta admit, the box I was kind of like, especially when I went to Best Buy and picked it up, I was kind of like, oh, it's kind of, meh, it's small. There's not a lot of accessories that come with this, but here you go, here's a first look at it. There's some instructions on it. It's covered in a cellophane wrap whenever you first take it out. QR codes and whatnots, and then you have the device itself. So when I first picked it up, I was a little underwhelmed with the demo unit at Best Buy. It felt kind of a lot cheaper than I thought it would, especially looking at the videos and things like that. I thought it would be way more robust feeling. But now having it in my hands and playing with it for a couple of days, it does feel a little bit more sturdy than I initially thought it would. So you can see the buttons, they feel pretty good. They're not too bad. The thumbsticks are a lot more solid than I thought they'd be, and they're a little bit different than the Steam Deck as well too. The grooves themselves are a little bit more, I think, like angled and deeper than, like, say, the Steam Decks, which I kind of thought would. I thought I really liked the Steam Decks until I started playing the ROG Allies, and you can kind of see these ones are a little bit wider on the Steam Deck themselves, so they kind of they feel great when you're playing it, but if you get used to something else like the ROG Ally here, the grooves on it really help for like playing shooters and stuff like that, and it made it feel like I had a lot more control. So you can kind of see the difference there too. So yeah, I was really happy about that. Let's see if I can get it on camera here. And I don't know if anybody's really kind of shown that off or not, but it was something I was really pleasantly surprised about that I didn't expect to really care about. And then buttons on the back, the R1 and L1, or left bumper, right bumper, depending on where ecosystem you play in, they feel really great, nice and clicky, not bad at all. These the R2 paddle and the L2 paddle, I am really not a big fan of. They have this like really long like lip to it. You can see right there, like a really long lip to it, and then when you're pressing it, especially when you're playing like a shooter, it feels like a really big, long paddle to press, and it feels like your finger has a long track to go before it fully depresses. So I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel about that. Like, I've made do with it, but like usually when you're playing, I like to have like a quicker snap to it. Like the Steam Deck has a really nice like short travel. You can kind of see short travel, and it kind of goes in real quick, and it feels better. So, and even though these are a replaced shell, I do feel like that's better feeling than the ROG Ally. But the left bumper, right bumper feels really good. Everything else, weight, I thought was going to be a problem with this thing. It's not as bad as I thought. I don't have the scale with me and stuff, but it's very comparable to like the LCD or the OLED Steam Deck. It's very comparable. I think that they're very similar in weight. That's not a problem. Ergonomics, though, I feel like that was a big issue for me. That testing this out for a couple of days, the ergonomics are really not the best. I know that this is a step up from the last ROG, and it is a lot different in terms of like being comfortable while I'm holding this. I found that playing for more than an hour or two, my wrists start to really like kind of feel like they're cramping up, like just from holding it. Even with like a pillow bracing it, I feel like there's a lot more like a weird claw grip to this thing, whereas like when you have something like the Portal, it has a lot better ergonomics. You can kind of feel that like wrap around. It feels very like comfortable in the hand, and or like even in this case with the Steam Deck, they really nailed the ergonomics with those like rolled out handles. So I can play this for a lot longer. So I got to do shorter bursts of gaming with the ROG Ally. So that's kind of been my first initial impressions. I'm going to go further into it in a bigger deep dive with it And there's some cool stuff on here too, like the the Thunderbolt 4s and things like that are really cool. We'll go into that in a more in-depth video. I do like the little fingerprint scanner. It's kind of cool. I do like that. It is pretty responsive. They got these cool little RGB lights on the side here you can change and things like that. So I'll do some more gameplay videos and things like that, and how I feel, and then how games play on it and stuff. But for the most part, not bad. The screen is pretty terrible in my opinion. Like, a lot of people say, oh, it's great, it's not bad, but when you kind of compare it to other larger screens, like, it's, you know, it's definitely the downfall of the device itself is the smaller panel. The fact that it's not an OLED, I think, is, you know, it's neither here nor there really. Like, the OLEDs do look nicer, yeah, for sure, but a really good solid LCD panel looks just fine, and I think that this is one of those cases. The LCD panel itself looks fantastic. It's the size that's the issue, being a Windows tablet. You know, I can kind of zoom in here for you guys, and you can kind of see, like, the text gets really small, and when you're in game, it's even smaller, so you have to zoom in a lot of the time to those things. And there's a lot of compression with things, but the fact that it is a 1080p screen too, it is nicer because it is sharper in some aspects as well too. But you know, and then we'll get into like the software and things like that, and I think the software right now is one of the biggest issues with this. Like, being a Windows PC, it can be really detrimental to just getting into a game and playing, but for the most part, really enjoying it. So let's get back to what's in the box here too. I think that this is more of just like, you know, the same stuff you see in every unboxing video, right? Like, you open it up, you've got, you know, your they've got like the cheap little paper stand in here, and I think that this is underneath the top here. This is gonna be upside down. Yeah, this is like your stands up here, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the little like paper cardboard stands here, and I don't want to rip the things out, but I feel like that's the only way it's going to come out of there. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Something that was really bothersome with me too is this device was it was like almost $800. You know, I think it was $750 all after taxes, and then $100 discount at Best Buy, and it comes with next to nothing in terms of accessories. The Steam Deck, you know, you get a case, you get a charger. It's like, I know it's a lot more logistically for these companies, especially the ones that aren't, you know, Steam is making a ton of money off of software sales. You know, so that's where they're kind of making up their money, and I know these guys probably aren't, so they're trying to make as much money as they can off the devices themselves. But at the same time, for the price you're paying, you kind of wish you have something, you know, like some kind of carrying case, just something a little bit more. This feels very bare minimum. Really nice charger. This is a 65 watt charger. Something I am noticing though, like the Steam Deck charger, I believe is 65 watts too, and the ROG Ally is not registering that as a 65 watt charger. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the charger with the ROG Ally is 65 watts as well. So if that is the case, there is some, yeah, 65 watts. So that is something to kind of look out for. My MacBook charger seems to charge it just fine, and it does 30 watt TDP and boosts the performance and things like that. So that's something to kind of consider too, depending on what 65 watt charger you're having. I've looked online too, and I guess a lot of people have a lot of issues with that. So that's something to kind of consider too whenever you're looking to spend something. And you know, I don't know, I feel like I am very happy about this one. And there's your literature in here, so all the paperwork and stuff like that. I am pretty happy with the device. Being able to play like shooters natively and Game Pass on here natively, it's been fun. It's really cool, you know, playing Marvel Rivals on there, testing it out. It's the closest like to, you know, to PC or console experience you can get. And yeah, that's the unboxing right there. That was everything. So you get a charger, you get the device, and you get cheap cardboard stands. But you get a pretty powerful, pretty robust device, really great battery life, even messing around with other games, like, you know, single player games and stuff like that, kind of testing that out more and more. But I'll have more videos for you guys on that later on, and you know, once we set up the new studio too, I'm going to do some more like in-depth testing and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the unboxing of the ROG Ally. Not a whole lot to it, but the device itself, pretty solid. You know, if you don't have any device at all, you wouldn't be unhappy with it, I think, for sure. Depending on the type of gamer you are. If you're a person that likes to tinker and mess around with things, like, this is going to be more your speed. If you don't like to tinker and you just want to get into something in game and have a good time, I think the Steam Deck or even the PlayStation Portal, they're cheaper options, and depending on what you're doing and what type of games you're playing, they're a much better experience. But if you're wanting to get in here and play games, you know, like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Marvel Rivals, and play somewhat competitively against people, I think that this is a good one to go with. Some people have put Bazite on here too. I might mess around with putting Bazite on here. I'm gonna upgrade the SSD in here too, and maybe I'll do dual boot it for you guys. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. But I kind of wanted to have a Windows device, and I'm gonna end up getting the Legion Go's eventually. I don't want to get the old one yet, because especially with the event coming out in January, they're gonna be announcing all the new ones. I'll probably wait to get a Legion Go then. But as of right now, this is I want to keep this as like a dedicated Windows handheld. When you're gaming on it though, like the games do look good, like the screen looks good. The variable refresh rate makes it's really immersive. The LCD does not look bad. The only times you're really gonna notice it looking bad is when you're trying to read text, or if you're like, you know, if there's any kind of text in a game, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but at the same time, you know, you kind of will suspend that for having like a pretty solid gameplay experience away from being tethered to a TV or a PC. So that's kind of my first initial thoughts and impressions. I'm going to be doing more of these videos this week. I'm going to probably try to drop a, you know, what gaming console should you buy going into 2025. Oh, and then they got the back buttons too. Not crazy about these. I do use the back buttons a lot for and things like that, like, you know, like the jump or pick up or things like that in games. And I feel like they're okay. Like you don't really hit them, which is great. You know, they stay out of the way, these back buttons, which you know, in some games, like, you know, some of them they're really bad. Like I have like these controllers, like, you know, these pro controllers. I feel like the paddles kind of annoy the hell out of me, because I really like the paddles and I like to use them, but I feel like, you know, I'll hit them a lot of the times, like accidentally, and I'm not a fan of that. In this one, you only get 2 buttons on the ROG Ally, as opposed to on the X. The Ally, you had 4 buttons, and they were pretty intrusive, but these ones are pretty minimal, and you can hit them pretty easily, but they're only 2. And they're still kind of a weird shape. Like the ones on the Steam Deck, I do feel like these are kind of like the best of both worlds. You can hit them at this angle, you can hit them at the down angle, and they're pretty easy to hit, and they're comfortable, and they're not intrusive when you're hitting them. So yeah, the ergonomics of the Steam Deck it's going to be so hard for any company to beat that, and I get it. And the same thing with the ROG Ally X here. They definitely tried to improve the ergonomics. I give them points for that. They definitely did try to, but playing this for long periods of time, I can already feel like my hand cramping on the side, like a real bad cramp here because of the way it's held. Even taking the weight off, you can still feel like that awkward kind of feel to it. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to get one of these things, to look into those grips, like those the cases that could help, you know, kind of fill out and make it a little bit more robust for you to play. But yeah, that's the initial impressions here, guys. I want to try and keep it a little bit shorter than I did, but we're coming up on about 13-ish minutes. So if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns about, you know, the ROG Ally X and things you're kind of interested to know about it, you know, let me know. I'll test it out, and I'll kind of put a video together, and we can kind of explore this device and kind of learn as we go here and see what you think. So I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be back with another one real soon. Thanks.